So let's talk DFS here. Lamar Jackson. He ain't cheap.
No, not at all.
$20,000, $20,700 for Lamar Jackson as a captain. You don't even really save that much with Hollywood Brown. 16.5 for the captain spot. Tua and Jacoby Brissett priced up there. We talk about usually you see the backup quarterback being priced down, where you can see Huntley down there, Tyler Huntley down there at 9,000. If Tua was 100% healthy, maybe Brissett is down there. Good job by DraftKings here, though, setting it up where Jacoby Brissett is priced as if there's a chance Tua won't play. In other words, Jacoby Brissett at 14.7, Tua at 15.3. It doesn't skew the slate if Tua is indeed ruled out. Myles Gaskin, a robust 14.1 as a captain. Mark Andrews, 13.2. Jalen Waddle, 12.3. Gesicki in five figures too at 11.1, and then Latavius Murray 10,500. I don't know what we're doing there. Devontae Freeman 9.9, and that's everybody before the captains. After them, I guess you could look. I'm looking at Rashad Bateman 8.7. Wow, that's expensive for him. Le'Veon Bell 8.1. Devin DuVernay 7.2. Ravens defense 6.6, and then you sort of get to the guys you would take flyers on instead. If we believe that the Ravens are going to dominate, it is hard to get away from Lamar Jackson as a captain, even at $20,700.
Well, I was going to say, is this the most expensive captain that we've seen this season? It feels like, at least for these games that me and you have been doing.
Yeah,
it absolutely feels like that.
I don't think we've seen it ticking up lately, where they're trying to really price up these slate breaking quarterbacks. But yeah, 27 is the most expensive I've seen.
Yeah,
that will make it difficult.
Yeah, it's a wild captain number, but still, I mean, you can. I talk a lot about, it's tough to fit in these guys in the captain spot and roster construction and blah, blah, blah. But I've been able to kind of finagle it a little bit with Lamar Jackson. Again, you can go the 3-3 split and see if you can still get some playmakers in there and make it work. One that I made was Lamar, your captain. You still have Mark Andrews ready to roll. The only other Raven would be Justin Tucker. That's the only kind of weird spot that you would put in there, but then you can come around with Jalen Waddle, Gesicki, and Ahmed, and still make a decent roster there.
All right, so here's the Lamar I did. I mean, I'm going to enter this right now, but let's go ahead and fire this one up. I got Lamar captain. Mm-hmm. We can click his name. I don't really know how this worked. I got Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown. We'll go to Marquise Brown first because he's at the top at 11,000. Then Mark Andrews at tight end there. I'm also going to throw in Mike Gesicki at 7.4. I know Gesicki and Gaskin are very confusing right there. I don't know how the hell Myles Gaskin is priced above Mike Gesicki. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And then we're going to scroll all the way down and grab Sullivan Ahmed, who I mentioned. I think we'll get, not like 15 yards is going to win this. He's probably going to need a touchdown at $800, but maybe Gaskin is gassed from all those carries, and they end up, giving Ahmed the more run this time. We've seen,
or they're just mad about the inefficiency.
Sure, Brian Flores ain't scared to bitch. He'll bitch. He bitched Tua 4 or 5 times last year. He ain't scared. And then finally, we're going to round it out with Patrick Ricard at $1,500. Somehow I have that much left. Oh no, he's $1,000. Excuse me. His captain salary is $1,500. Right? Is that right? That's right. Yeah. Last week, 3 catches, 35 yards, and a touchdown, 5 targets. He's had a couple games this year where he's been targeted. I don't expect a lot from him. It's just sort of a flyer there at $1,000 to differentiate what I think will be probably a popular buildup. Because I mean, look, if I can do that, I mean, that Lamar, Marquise, and Mark Andrews stacks, I would assume will be popular.
Yeah. I think what we're going to have to look at here a little bit, and talking about differentiating these lineups, is those wide receivers that are kind of in that middle tier rounds, like a Mac Hollins will maybe be somebody that you pay attention to. He caught a touchdown, I think, last week. He's caught a touchdown in 2 of his last 3 games. So again, that's somebody for Miami that maybe is the number 2 opposite of Jalen Waddle. Is he someone who gets some volume there? Is a Duvernay somebody you pay attention to? A Sammy Watkins? Like, those are the kind of guys that I think will be difference makers in this slate, because you'll get a lot of that. You'll get a lot of these top tier guys, and then we're going to come down for Ahmed, Preston Williams, and Ricard or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I mean, like a lot of these showdown slates, this one is probably going to, the way that you're going to win it is, by selecting the correct guys at the, that you're filling out your lineup with. Obviously, if Lamar has a massive Lamar game, it will be very difficult to win anything without him as your captain. And that's the risk you run if you want to differentiate yourself. I do think you could make the case, though, for some of the other Ravens, particularly Mark Andrews at 13-2 or Marquise Brown at 16-5. And I know we're beating this to death with the 2019 thing, but that was Brian Flores. That was John Harbaugh. That was the stadium. It's, Hollywood is a better player than he was then. Lamar is a better player than he was then. It's just as an overall passer. And they didn't rush Lamar, as we pointed out. They had Gus Edwards there. They wouldn't have had, oh my gosh, the guy the running back. What?
Ingram.
No, they did have Ingram, but they didn't have what's his name? The running back that they
Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, Dobbins. Thank you. I've forgotten his name twice in the last week. I'm getting very old. Ingram had 14 carries for 100 yards. Gus Edwards 17 carries. Justice Hill 7 carries. So they didn't. They didn't they didn't just say we're passing all the time. Lamar only threw 20 times, right? But he was so efficient down the field that it didn't matter. He was 324 yards on 20 passes is insane. If he runs, or I guess I should say, if he doesn't run like he didn't run in that game, at $20,000, he will probably not be the optimal captain.
No. And again, you're talking a lot about Marquise Brown being that kind of connection. But we've seen earlier in the year the connection between him and Mark Andrews in that win. I believe it was against it's escaping me, but I forget who that win was. But when the two of them just went absolutely the Colts. They went bananas against the Colts. If that similar game script happens, Mark Andrews is probably your optimal captain at that point.
For sure. So let's build out two lineups real quick with let's do one. Let's clear it out. And let's start with Hollywood Brown.
Sure.
And go. And the question is, if you go Hollywood as the captain, do you fade Mark Andrews or do you want to try and get greedy and get both? Now, we're going to put Lamar in all of these.
Yeah, Lamar, you can't. I don't think you can not. Listen, if you are the Millie Maker or whatever it is this week without Lamar Jackson, congratulations.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to get cute that way.
What was the one that we did the other day where it was like, you can't fade this?
Najee. I think it was Najee.
Yeah, there's Najee on Monday. You definitely could have faded Najee, I think.
Yeah, you might have been able to.
Yeah. No, the optimal lineup had Najee in it, but it was Freiermuth as the captain.
Yeah.
And for a very long time, it was the Steelers right up until the very end when the game went, when the game went nuts and the Bears scored a bunch of points, Steelers fell out. But the point being is yes, Najee Harris seemed like the most obvious captain choice because he's going to get the volume. The Bears aren't very good at stopping the run. This is just what it's going to look like. And then at the end of the day, it wasn't him. And that can be true for Lamar Jackson too. Now you run the risk, so for instance, we've seen cases with the Green Bay Packers in these showdown slates where Devontae Adams gets so much of the distribution of the passes that ultimately he is more valuable than Aaron Rodgers because you're getting points per reception, receiving yards are more valuable than passing yards, et cetera, et cetera. The touchdown's more valuable. So in this instance, we're going to say Hollywood Brown as our captain. We're going to put Lamar in there because you got to put Lamar in there. And then the question becomes, do you want to fade Mark Andrews? Or because if you go Mark Andrews, you probably have to go 3 Dolphins with the pricing. Maybe you could go with a 4th, like a Ricard or something like that. But you could go with a Jalen Waddle here as a higher up.
Let's see Waddle. I think Waddle might be interesting.
I like Waddle. Waddle's been getting a ton of targets and catching a bunch of passes lately too. And then you can actually let's scroll down a little ways and actually right there, Rashad Bateman at 5'8". You mentioned him. And let's grab Justin Tucker because in this scenario, they're scoring lots of points. Maybe they get stopped in the red zone once or twice. You could also go Ravens defense there too if you were so inclined instead of Tucker. And that leaves us with 1,700.
And so you're right there with Ricard or Ahmed or whoever you want.
Yeah. You could do the 4-2 will probably be more popular. Let's see what we got. Producer Chris, and scroll down there. Tyson Williams hadn't got enough run, I don't think, to qualify. Ricard's at 1,000. I mean, Ahmed is fine for me at 800 there because I think his role is probably more secure.
Yeah.
You're getting a higher floor with Ahmed than you do with Ricard, who, because again, like when we're building out this particular lineup, our assumption is like that the Ravens are going to put up a ton of points.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, now the only problem is you sort of want to get a running back in there for the Ravens. So pop out Bateman and let's scroll up and see if we can get Freeman. I think we can. Can you get to Freeman? Oh yeah, there we go. All right, that's okay. So I like the idea of Bateman. Don't get me wrong at all. And I if I'm building this lineup, I'm probably gonna build one with Bateman and one with Freeman. Just like I'm gonna build one with Ahmed and one with Ricard. You want to have options, especially if you're entering multiple lineups. The thing about this, though, when I look at that back in that 2019 game, as I point out, they scored 59 points, but they ran the ball a ton. I mean, they ran the ball almost 40 times. Well over 40 times if you count Lamar's runs. So they just lit up the Dolphins secondary. The Dolphins secondary is definitely better than it was in 2019, but there's still the distinct possibility that Baltimore just goes up top and then proceeds to run the ball aggressively. And if that's the case, you're going to want to have a Freeman or a Lev Bell, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. That's one of those lineups where if you don't have a running back, you're going to see yourself pretty high up in those standings. And then as the game goes down, you're going to slowly creep down. Exactly. It's going to kill you inside.
Yeah, that would be tough to watch. Hey, let's take out Tucker there too, really quickly. And 4,100, is that Bell's 54? Take out Waddle too. I just want to see if we can get, and then grab Le'Veon Bell. Because we don't think that, oh man. So, like, Latavius Murray probably shouldn't play in this game, right?
No, probably not.
Probably not. So we're looking at Le'Veon Bell and Devontae Freeman getting the lion's share of carries. And just looking back at the Ravens, let's see, looking back at the Ravens last game. And
Bell had a touchdown.
Yeah. But I mean, I want to say that against Minnesota, that both of them had 13 carries for Freeman, 11 carries for Bell, and the touchdown. So, I kind of like this formula. It's basically they are going to score with Lamar and Brown, and then they're just going to feed Bell and Freeman with a big lead and melt away the clock. And, again, the over under, this is sort of the idea for how they get to the under, but they scored 59 points this way before. That leaves us with 6,900. By chance, could Mike Gesicki fit into that? Is it going to be? Oh, no. 74. Crap. So you could go with Gesicki. Plug Gesicki in there. Let's see if we can ditch Ahmed for somebody is there somebody cheaper?
You could go, and again, this one's a little bit risky because he was a healthy scratch last week, but Preston Williams is only $200. Or is it, $200.
That is Preston Williams for $200. Or James Prochet. Yeah. I mean, Prochet is a dart throw for sure.
Yeah.
So you'd have to go with, Preston Williams, Prochet. Isaiah Ford's down there. Scroll down. Who else is down at the 200s? Patrick Laird, Miles Boykin. I mean, these are not guys who you were hoping for like one catch.
Yeah, the weird 1 yard touchdown catch.
Stone Cold Men is what the ETR crew likes to say. If you get one catch, doesn't even have to be a touchdown, one catch for 10 yards, you're getting flames on the $200 guy. And if you happen to have a $200 guy who catches a touchdown, you've got some action cooking.
Yeah, you're live.
Who was the one? There was somebody. Was it last week?
Are you talking about the Colts game? Ashton. That guy. Whatever his name. Whatever his name.
He it off.
Yeah, he had a couple of catches there. It was all right
for sure. Okay. So do we want to build one with Andrews too, just in case it's
sure.
Right, let's clear. So basically, the point being is if you go Hollywood like that, you've got all those variations that you can operate with him. We can clear that out now and try Andrews as our captain. Scroll up. He is expensive, right?
Well, I'll tell you this. Well, we can maybe have that same lineup, but maybe we could throw Gesicki in there when we could try to fit him in.
That's right. Now the other thing is too, is like, as much as we're hyping up this this narrative of Hollywood Brown. It's like, do you dare get away from Hollywood Brown? Like,
in general.
I guess it's possible that the cornerbacks are just good enough for Miami where they minimize. See, I don't think you'll have a ton of ownership on Hollywood either as the captain because of the narrative that you can run against the Dolphins. So we go Andrews. You can just automatically plug Lamar in there. We're not building out a freaking lineup without Lamar. I guess you could get to the optimal. It's hard to imagine.
Or it's not hard to imagine, but it's, it would take a lot.
Possible, but it's not likely.
Yeah.
So then we got Gesicki. Is that what we said? Gesicki in there?
Yeah, you can throw him in there.
All right. And then who else do we want to plug in here?
With this, so I mean, do we throw? Are we going to try to follow that same route, or are we going to try to make this more of like a shootout-y type of vibe? So do we go like Waddle now?
Yeah, I like that idea. Go Waddle here. Yeah, like every single one. You shouldn't build every single lineup as if it's a Ravens blowout.
No.
So you go Waddle at 8,200, and then that leaves us 74. That's certainly enough to get
You can get Bateman.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you can go Bateman or one of the running backs. Actually, you're right. If you're going with Waddle and Gesicki in there, Bateman's the play, I think.
Yeah.
And then that leaves you enough you can go back to Ahmed. You could go Adam Shaheen, Albert Wilson.
Yeah, pick your poison on that point.
I think Ahmed is the guy that we're certainly locking into. I like that lineup.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay. So those are probably going to be my 3 choices for captain. And I bet I will have a lot more Marquise Brown than the field just because his ceiling is enormous. I think it's higher than even what some people are giving it credit for. And that the sort of the Hollywood narrative, the Florida narrative.
Well, even if you're talking about like if we're talking, if it's going to be a Dolphins heavy stack, I still think you probably would want to have a combination of Hollywood, Lamar, most likely, or Andrews as your captain, because let's just say the Dolphins are having a lead here. The Ravens are chucking it around the field.
Oh yeah. No. I think so too. If you're going, we can build a Costanza lineup in a second where we have 4 Dolphins. I'm probably not going to go more than 4 Dolphins in a lot. I'm not going to go 5-1 Dolphins.
5-1. I don't think you can do 5-1.
You can maybe if you have Lamar as your captain and you hope he distributes it evenly and runs a ton.
Yeah.
But if the Dolphins have a lead and the Ravens are chucking it around, as you point out, in this Costanza lineup, you're going to need like some. You're going to need somebody able to come back. Like you're going to need pass catching weapons. So I think the Costanza lineup in that sense would be 4-2 Dolphins to Ravens. You sort of pick your, whether you want to do Andrews or Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
What about?
And there goes Will. We lost Will. It's okay. If we're gonna do a Costanza lineup, though, I'll just talk now. If we're gonna do a Costanza lineup, I still think, like we were saying, I would probably do Lamar at my captain spot. That's probably the number one that I would still lean on. And then you, again, pick your poison on whether you want to go with Hollywood Brown or Mark Andrews. I would go with Mark Andrews just to keep that from a salary standpoint to still fit things in. And then if you want to move it around a little bit, I think we could still go with Gesicki. I'm going to try to fit in Gesicki, Waddle, and you could work it down. I still think, this is one that I was thinking about. You lost your will, but I was riffing anyways.
No, go ahead. No, great job. No, well, I don't know. My Chrome has been randomly crashing.
All right.
But usually it's when I fire up YouTube TV, and I was like, man, I was thinking before this podcast, I was like, it's weird. It hadn't crashed at all during StreamYard once this season. And then boom, immediately, of course. Go riff away. Keep riffing.
No, so we were just saying, obviously you got to have Lamar as or not obviously, but you would want to have Lamar as your captain. And I don't know if we're going to do this 4-2 Dolphins, is it going to be a combination of Marquise Brown or Mark Andrews, or do you go a little bit further down the line and hope for a Bateman and then to fill out some more capital with your Dolphins? So you're not, picking through the barrel of the Dolphins here.
No, I was actually going to suggest that we build right when I crash. I was going to suggest building a Rashad Bateman captain lineup.
Okay. All right. Well, we want to try that? Let's do that.
That's right. Let's clear it out and try a Bateman captain. He's projecting pretty well on the optimals or on the optimizers, which means that I mean, one that's that's always it's not a bad thing, but it also means he could be maybe a little more chalky captain than you might expect. A lot of people I think who play fantasy and who play DFS are sort of like, all right, Rashad Bateman's coming on, coming on. Like, is this where Rashad? That seems to be sort of a narrative that's building. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I have him in season long, and I'm like, I'm getting excited about him. So yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, because he didn't play until week 6. He's had he's played 3 games, 6 targets, and 8 targets in those 3 games. He's certainly getting used. And I think, there's if you're Lamar Jackson and you're Greg Roman and John Harbaugh, you want to get this rookie who missed a lot of the early season some confidence as you start to get towards playoff time. And you feel like you're going to be playing in the postseason. You want to make sure that he is readily available and producing at a high level. So
well, that's exactly it. I mean, you want this guy feeling good, feeling loose. He hasn't reached the end zone yet, so it's like we still haven't seen that peak fantasy performance from him yet. So no, it could absolutely happen.
And at 8-7 is in the captain spot, you can get a lot going here. So let's of course throw Lamar in there as a piece here, and I think we probably throw in. Do we throw in Hollywood and try to get Andrews in there?
We can try. I mean,
let's try Hollywood. Let's try Hollywood first. If you go to oh yeah, we can definitely get him in there. All right, let's throw Hollywood in there too. This is a full blown onslaught.
Yeah, this is a.
So 38.5. Let's scroll down a little bit. How much are the Ravens? The only downside to this one is that if you, excuse me, you could go Freeman and then do Ahmed as your only Dolphins player. I mean, the question is, do we think that I mean, I'm definitely gonna have one of these because you can just. I mean, that is an onslaught of Ravens. Let's bonk out Freeman and Ahmed for a second. That I will be playing that Bateman lineup there for sure. And so, what do you think? Go one of Andrews or Brown?
Yeah, I would say again, you can pick your poison on either one you want.
So go ahead and toss that one in there.
Do we want to keep Brown or Andrews?
I think keep Andrews if we're going with Bateman as the captain.
Yeah,
I think that gives you a lot of money to play with, and so
I agree.
You could probably go Waddle and Gesicki, right?
Let's see. Yep. Yeah, and you still have 3,100 left over to kind of mess around with.
Yep, 3,100.
Which isn't really that like a crazy number from where we were at. I mean, you're talking about Dolphins
down
defense.
A little bit, Chris, so people can see who the options that are there.
Like you're talking Dolphins defense, Tyson Williams. It's not like you're right back to where you're in the same regard. Ahmed,
Smythe
Williams comes. Yeah, Smythe. You're in that realm again. So it's as much as you're saving your salary, it's not like you're really banking it to get somebody that's going to drastically improve your roster. You know what I mean? From what we were doing earlier.
I will say that I think our good pal Larry Hartstein, of course, friend of the show, good friend in real life. He is on. He bet over Durham Smythe 8.5 receiving yards, noting that he played 45 snaps last week as Miami used a lot of 2 tight end sets. Ravens give up a ton of receiving yards, 2 tight ends. Check those guys out on the early edge. Of course, they do great work there. That's not a terrible look.
Okay,
let's toss Durham Smythe, D Smythe in there as well at 1,800. That leaves you 1,300 left over. Man, what's the difference? That's not enough to get up to. Okay, so I mean, I'm trying to think who. I don't know if there's anybody that you can upgrade this lineup with, really.
No, you really can't unless that's who you would upgrade.
That lineup would be unique.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think a lot of people are playing this one. Well, I mean, you still have. It's not like you're missing it's not like you're having none of these heavy hitter players. I mean, you still have a ton, but you're differentiating it a little bit with Bateman as your captain. It's not the most.
No. I mean, I think no, I agree completely. I mean, I don't think that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with leaving $1,300 on the table in a showdown slate.
No,
especially this one in particular with the way that the quarterbacks are priced. Let's clear this one out and do what would the Costanza lineup be?
It's got to be a 4-2 Dolphins, right? That's kind of what we were talking about earlier before you jumped off. It's like even if you still are doing this Costanza Dolphins, I don't know if we want to call it onslaught, but Dolphins win or keep it close, I still think you need to have Lamar in there at some capacity, whether
For
it's the
sure.
captain or not.
So let's do either Waddle or Gesicki. Let's do Gesicki as the captain here.
Yep.
And sorry, that's flex. It doesn't reset. Unbelievable. It's a freaking site. You clear it out, it should automatically reset. What are we doing here? Let's see. So if you do, let's see, Gesicki as captain, and I mean, if you're building this out on like an optimizer, this is not gonna like. He's not a he doesn't rate well in terms of being a good captain. I agree that we need to go Lamar and either Mark Andrews or Hollywood Brown.
Yeah. I would probably go Andrews for the savings because this is going to be our only other Raven, right? We're going to do a 2-4.
Yep.
So yeah,
So you go Andrews for the savings, and you look at the I guess the Dolphins give up a ton of receiving yards, but all right. So then we need to have 3 more Dolphins. Sort of have to have the quarterback, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So let's go Brissett. I really don't think Tua is going to play.
No, I don't think so. Man,
Brissett, that knocks you out of getting Waddle. It's annoying. I mean, I'm trying to think who else is getting targets besides Waddle had 10 targets last week.
We can go Matt Collins.
Yeah, it just feels like
he won't be in a lot of lineups.
I mean, Waddle hasn't had an obscene amount of targets this year.
Yeah.
He's had double digit targets 4 times and hasn't really had an explosion game. Hadn't had an explosion game at all. Maybe 10 catches, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns against Jacksonville in London. Let's what if we ditch Andrews and go Bateman?
Okay.
So you go Bateman, and then we can get Waddle in there. Again, this is not what I would want to do. Like this is not
right. We're talking
1,300 left over, which is going to be. I think we go Ahmed here because you're going.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, that's disgusting.
It's an interesting lineup.
It's not an attractive lineup. I'm gonna see what that projects out to be scoring wise. Let's lock in Ahmed, Waddle, and where's you know what? That's why I wasn't doing it because Brissett's not even listed on here. That's annoying. Let's see. I'm gonna optimize that. Let's see. What do we think Brissett's projected for? Tua's projected for like 16, 17 points.
I'd pretty much give him the same.
So let's say 15 points.
Yeah.
So this is it's like projected for like 95 total points with this lineup, which is actually not as bad as you would think.
No, it's not terrible.
I mean, it's possible the Dolphins just sling it around and have a huge game. I mean, it's unlikely.
Yeah, it's not the most likely thing that's going to happen on Thursday, but it's probably not the least unlikely thing to happen.
Yeah, I mean, is it possible that they like move Byron Jones inside, like have him float around and just cover Mark Andrews, and Xavier Howard is draped all over Hollywood Brown,
or it's just this is the Rashad Bateman game. It's just this is his coming out party.
Yeah, that's right.
Totally fine. Totally can see that.
And like, you're gonna if this lineup hits, it's hitting. Like you're not splitting $1 million down to like 25 ways. There's gonna be maybe one other person is a psychopath enough to do this, which makes me want to put it in like right now. It's just because it's so ridiculous. And of course, obviously monitor if
excuse me. If Tua plays, does that really change much of your opinion?
Take out what's that?
If Tua plays, does that really change much of your analysis? For me, it really doesn't.
But I mean, take out Brissett and put Tua in really quickly, Chris, just so we can make sure. Is that you want to make sure that you have that swappable?
You can fit both.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we knew that we like. You want to if you do a lineup with Brissett or Tua in it, you need to know what you're, and they're only $400 different. So you can.
It's like last week going into Sunday. We found out pretty late in the game that Tua was going to be active but not starting. He wasn't going to play. So you do have to have that ability to swap out really quickly.
Right. You just want to make sure that you can, if you have 150 lineups that you're playing, I mean, good for you for dropping, what is it? Like, I mean, $3,000 on a Thursday night showdown slate. I'm not quite there. If you're playing 150 lineups, you want to be able to quickly download, redo your optimization lineups, or just have a replace rule or whatever.
Right.
Whatever
And if you
want
to keep this strategy going, you can. That's basically what we're saying.
Yeah, basically they're easily replaceable. We just want to make sure that was the case. All right. Man, that lineup is stanky. What was our Costanza lineup for the Bears? I need to go back and look. It might have done okay because the Bears.
I was gonna say it might have been okay.
I had a lineup that was cooking with all Bears until the end.
I know we had Freiermuth. I don't know if we had Freiermuth in a captain spot, but we had him.
I took him out of like a bunch of lineups. That was the thing. He was so, and this will be like with Waddle and Gesicki, just with their prices in the flex spot, they're not going to be heavily owned because people will want to get Lamar, Andrews, and Hollywood, and then it's just tougher to get, like all the people will skip over that middle chunk, just like Freiermuth was not heavily owned because people are like, 7,000 for a tight end,
and I think Mooney, and this is who I brought up. I said Mooney was under him at like 6,800 or something like that. So it's like. You go to the number 2 Bears receiver, or do you go with the tight end for Pittsburgh? A lot of people would maybe lean with the savings and try to go with Mooney on a deep shot.
Well, and you got to get somebody in from the Bears, right? So if you're going steal, so for sure. Hold on, I don't want to close out this video before I plug in. So we're going Gesicki as captain, Waddle. We say the Bateman game, Brissett. Oh my God, this is repulsive. The good thing is nobody has to know that you did it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God. A 4-2 Dolphins with no Hollywood or Andrews. Unbelievable. And I guess you could actually, one more, just a thought here. Oh yeah. Check this out. So take out, this is real crazy. Take out Lamar and take out Bateman and put in Hollywood. And it leaves you. Oh, take out Tua and put in Brissett. Sorry. I was like, wait a minute. I just plugged this in. I know this works. So you got Brissett, and then that leaves you enough for Andrews. So in theory, you could, if you wanted, fading Lamar is really ballsy. We've seen it. We've seen him leave primetime games before. He ended up having a huge game against the Browns when he was in the poop game. Fading Lamar is extremely aggressive. But you are fading him with his top 2 pass catchers.
Right. You are exposed to him in some degree. You're just banking on not a huge rushing capability for him in this game.
Yeah. So, that's just a thought. Just a thought that's another that will be extremely unique.
That one in particular is like,
in particular, it's very, very, very unique. All right. That should cover us. I've got my this Miz lineup. I'm going to see, the problem is I won't have the stones to submit it if I don't do it like right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I won't have the huevos to throw these.
When you sober up a little bit later, when you get into that kickoff, you're like,
wait, why would I do this? This is a terrible lineup. So I'm gonna put both of those bizarro lineups in there as well. And all right, they're submitted. Okay, that'll do it for the DFS portion of the program. Sully, I'm kind of excited for this Thursday night affair.
Let's do it.
Let's go cash and props. Let's stay hot. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Leave your best bets in the comments. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. See you, buddy.